So then, we've covered the diagnostic nightmares that can happen with these cars, the BMW and Mercedes, any German car like that, any European Volvo, etc. And so let's talk about the stuff that just wears out on them for no damn good reason. Well, one thing, if you ever buy a BMW with a 6-cylinder engine in it, or even a V8 possibly, you'll come to find out that the cooling system on those things is composed mostly of plastic. And anybody who's ever owned or dealt with or looked at or even sat in a European car knows how shitty the plastic is on those cars. The plastic used on those cars is not the plastic used on a Japanese car. There is no way. It's not even comparison. There's no comparison. It's not the same stuff. It is some brittle, easily fatigued, not long-lasting junk is what it is. It's junk. The plastic used in European cars is junk. J-U-N-K. Junk. It's crap. Choose your adjective. So the Europeans' bright idea was to start building everything they could out of this same break-in plastic. The radiator, the overflow, you know, some of the connections, the hose connections, and the worst of it all of it, get this. I know Volkswagen does it, and I think even BMW did it. They tried it for a while, if they don't still do it. But their bright idea was on your water pump on your engine, usually you have a metal water pump, and the inside part of it is you can't see that sits in the coolant passage. Normally, like on a car like this, that's not a cheapskate manufacturer, that's made out of metal. So when that thing is spun by the pulley, that impeller in there makes the coolant flow. So what do you think these bastards did? They're selling you a $70,000, well, we'll be charitable. We'll say it started out as a $30-something thousand Audi on up to a $70,000 Mercedes or a BMW, whichever the case may be. And those cheap bastards, you know what they did? They decided to make the impeller in there and the water pump out of plastic. So we know the plastic on those cars doesn't last. It's terrible. It's junk. So what do you think is going to happen to that water pump impeller eventually? Just what does happen to it. The thing breaks and it comes off in the coolant passage. So all you got in there is a damn stem going in there that's turning nothing anymore. So what do you think is going to happen to the engine on one of those cars when the coolant ceases to flow while you're going down the highway at 70 to 75 miles an hour? Think about that. What do you think is going to happen? You got it yet? You know what's going to happen? You're going to overheat the shit out of that thing before you even have a chance to know what's going on. You're going to be going along, and all of a sudden all these alarms are going to start going off. And that's the thing about a European car, is instead of a car like this and any other Nissan and Honda and Toyota that just has like a charge light and a check engine light and an oil pressure light, they have all these additional warning lights that come on because they know their shit's going to break eventually. So they have like oil pressure light, then they have a big exclamation point up there, and then they may have a triangle over here somewhere, and then they have one that says stop engine, and they got an alarm that goes off, you know, ding 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 ding, stop engine, stop engine, stop engine. So do you know why that is? They know their shit's gonna break. That's there for a reason. They know that when it overheats, or when it loses oil pressure, or when some other disaster comes up, that, you know, they got to get your attention because you're really going to ruin it pretty quick. So those stupid water pumps have fried more than one engine, and that's not the best part. If you have one of those, and Volvo does the same damn thing, they ought to have their ass kicked for that idea. But if you have one of those 1.8 liter or 2.0 liter turbo 4-cylinder Audi or Volkswagen engines, they have that same water pump on them. And not only can the impeller crack and come apart without you knowing it, is there not a light for the impeller coming off? Is you sure doesn't need to be a light for that? That thing, if the water pump comes apart, guess what they did? They made it so that the timing belt drives the water pump. So that's also an interference engine. So they've developed all these good ways to really screw this thing up if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong. So what happens if the water pump breaks or the water pump seizes up? Well, that's the magic in a European car. They designed it so not only do you have one problem happen, but you have all these other problems that are going to happen because of that one problem that was not even necessary. Who in the hell ever thought that was a good idea? So the water pump locks up, the timing belt gets fried right away because it's trying to turn a seized up pulley, and then it breaks and comes off, and the whole engine, all the valves crash into the pistons. It came over. You European guys, you tell me whose bright idea that was. You tell me why that's such a good idea. Now this car, the Japanese, probably knowing that that was a terrible idea, or would be a terrible idea, they didn't do that. This thing runs off a timing chain. Their four cylinders don't even do that either. In fact, I can't even think of a Japanese four cylinder that runs a water pump off of the timing belt. That's strictly a European bullshit idea. This car has a good old metal water pump, metal impeller, and they go for, this one's pushing 200,000 miles, and I don't think it's ever been changed. So the original owner, the one I had before it, he said the one on that one never been changed. You know, Robert DIY, bless his heart, is a good guy, and I think he's doing a good thing, but he's one of the cornerstones of his Volvo trade, working on cars there, is replacing water pumps before they kill an engine. So, if that diatribe hadn't scared you enough about what can happen to one of these things, not these cars, but one of those European versions, here's the best one so far I've ever heard of. BMW, since they didn't do enough damage with a plastic water pump or plastic cooling system, guess what they come up with after that? What do you think they came up with after that? Get this, an electric water pump. It doesn't run off a belt anymore. I guess they didn't kill enough engines with a plastic water pump, so this is new. This is, you know, their next bright idea, engineering idea, was an electric water pump, even though they've been running belt-driven water pumps for nearly 100 years, if not over. Now we need an electric water pump. So they're known to fail. Look on the Google that. If you don't believe me, Google that and see for yourself. They're known to fail. What do you think happens again when the water pump stops turning? You German idiots. Well, I don't know, maybe it'll overheat, maybe it'll lock up, maybe it'll seize, and then they'll be glad to put another engine in for you. Well, they sell replacement electric water pumps. How much do you think those are? Last time I looked on FCP Euro, I think they were going for about $450 for a replacement electric water pump for a BMW. You know how much the regular old metal water pump on this, not as good as a BMW or a Mercedes or an Audi must be on one of these Infinitis? $66 from Rock Auto. Are you scared yet? Are you convinced yet not to touch one of those cars? There's somebody on a forum, I think it was a BMW forum, one time he said that I will never, ever, ever own a BMW or a Mercedes that's out of a maintenance contract, and I think that ought to go for Volvo and Volkswagen. They're terrible. They're terrible. They're terrible. About the best thing about those cars may be the nameplate on them. That's it. And if you ever read the BMW forums, as a matter of fact, go on Ed's Garage. He'll give you an education about keeping one of those BMWs going, about all the wheel bearings and the suspension bushings and this and that and this and that. It's on and on and on. You know, I'm telling you, if you're a person that just likes to drive a car without having to keep working on it, you need one of these. If you like high maintenance women and high maintenance cars, then you need a European car. I don't know about the woman. So anyway, now we know that you're going to have all kinds of problems, and it's been documented. Don't tell me I'm lying. All kinds of problems potentially with the engine and the diagnostic system. Then you get into the magic of the interior and the bodywork stuff. It's magic. This is where the excellent engineering and excellent design and excellent parts quality also came to light. One thing you will always see on a European car, for whatever reason, is broken window mechanisms. They make them out of the same dumbass, terrible, horrible plastic as they did the other stuff. And what's interesting, is that goes on, but how did it happen that this car and the one before it and every other one I've seen never have window problems? The windows all work perfectly on this car. No problems with them, nothing. So let's step inside. Let's look at stuff on the inside. No broken door handles, never have been. Never seen one with broken door handles. Like I said, this car is 190,000 miles on it. And if you ever go to a used car lot, or look on the internet, or look in a junkyard, and look at anywhere from 98 through 2002, 2003, roughly the same vintage cars, look at the European cars on the inside of them, and look at how shitty they look now after all this years, and look at this car. You'll see European cars that the interior looks like somebody marched over it on their way to the front lines. Interior's all coming apart, the seats are splitting up, flaking apart, switches are broken. I looked the other day, I looked at a 1998, not to buy it, it was just for sale, cheap. A 1998 Mercedes ML320, which is that wonderful SUV that they came out with. They built it right here in Alabama. And it had about the same miles this one did. And I looked at the interior of that thing, and it had crap busted everywhere just from use. The seats were all split, front and rear, they were split all up. The armrest was messed up. What's supposed to be wood was flaking off. The switches in the center console, half of them had the tops broke off of them. And that's not an isolated thing. That's everywhere. You look on Volvo forums, they tell you about fixing the switches. And other forums for European cars about fixing switches, replacing switches, getting switches working again, blah, blah, blah. I want to tell you guys something. Not everybody in this world wants to work on fucking switches all the time. That's nonsense. That's not normal. That's a deranged version of normal. That's what that is. Because you look at this car. We're going to use this one as an example. These switches here have been in use. These not been replaced. This thing's never been apart. I can tell when they've been apart and this one hasn't. These switches have been in use for 190,000 miles and 16 years straight, and they all work perfectly. There's nothing broken with these switches at all. They all work just like they did when this car was built. Door handles are not broken. Everything works. Windows, they all work. All these switches, everything still works. Headlight switches, gauges, odometer, horn, cruise, radio up and down, clock, still works. Climate control, still works. Radio, still works. Everything works. CD player, CD changer, still works. Nothing broken. Look at this dashboard. I can't get it to move. It's not broken off the car. Headliner, still up there. Lights all still work. Electrochromatic mirror still works. One thing doesn't work. Whoops. There it goes. It does work. Hello. Sunroof still works. Switches over there still work. Upholstery, not split, not broken up, not dried out, not cracked. Carpet not all chewed up and rotten. No leaks. Can't tell you the European cars I've seen with the headliner falling down. How's that happen? You guys that have those cars, tell me. Why does that happen in those and not in these? In fact, tell me all of that. Explain that so I know. So a boob from America knows why that you can buy one of these cars for the same money and all this stuff just still looks great, just like the last one I had and every other one I've seen has. Yet on one of your wonderful Mercedes or wonderful BMWs or wonderful Volvos or VWs or yeah, the shit's all broken apart on it. Explain that, and while you're at it, explain why it's still so much better idea to have one of those cars than one of these. You know, one of the main criticisms I got, or put downs, or whatever you want to call it, in that Volvo video was these guys that'd say, well, the first thing they always say is, well, you just don't understand what it is to have one of those cars. Yeah, I do. I understand. I've had one. I understand that it may run or it may not, and it's a pain in the ass or a money pit. But another thing they'll say, well, you should just stick to your American cars, blah, blah, blah. You don't understand. Well, I'll tell you what, if American cars are all as good as that damn Century over there, I'll be glad to. At least I'll be able to drive the damn thing and not be on the side of the road or on the back of a rollback. Or if the dealer getting reprogrammed or getting some space system diagnostic code retrieved. I'll tell you something. It doesn't make somebody more inferior if they don't like that shit, okay? That's how not everybody likes that. You know, there are people, if you want to own a BMW or Mercedes, that's perfectly fine. I'm not judge and jury of that. But I'm just trying to warn you away from them, because as somebody who doesn't like always having to fiddle with something or wonder what's going to break next, or wonder if I'm going to have enough money to fix what broke next, or on and on and on. You just want to drive your car every day. I'm trying to warn you away from those things, because those are not the cars to have, ever. There's been plenty of people who have defected away from BMW and Mercedes because they're such a pain in the ass. They're terrible. They're terrible. On and on, just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You know, Volkswagen, you have to change the timing belt or the water pump on one of those, or an Audi. You have to put the thing in service position. You know what service position is? I'll tell you what I call service position. That's you standing out there, your hands on your knees bent over. That's what service position is. But what it actually is they have to disassemble the whole fucking front of that car and swing it out, headlights and bumper and everything, to get to the engine up there, because it's so packed in. What's normal about that? That's nuts. I'm going to tell you real quick. Here's my take on this. I think the whole deal with this is that people, the word is cash it, C-A-C-H-E-T, and that means that just because something has a certain name on it, it's better, or it makes a person that owns it feel better about themselves, even if it's a totally inferior product. That's what one of those cars is. It doesn't matter which one it is. Maybe they're getting better now recently, but as far as like around the year of this car, So it's all about cash. It's all about image. You know, it's got Mercedes star on it. You're nuts. You're crazy. That's what it is. If it's worth that much to you to own one, go for it. But I wouldn't touch one. As a person that works on cars and has had a lot of cars, like I said, I would not touch one with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't buy one with your money. That's how bad they are. They have a potential, and it's not that they're bad day to day. It's just that, it's just like basically take this car, everything good about this car, and remove the reliability, remove the affordability to repair it, and remove the ability just to drive this thing for thousands of miles trouble free. Remove all that, and that's what you'll have left. And I know there's people that's their life is based on that. They love that. They love unpredictability. They love not knowing what's going to happen next. Hey, go for it. But I not me. I wouldn't have one. And so I suggest if you're looking for a cheap used car on Craigslist, you run away from a Volvo or a Volkswagen or an Audi. Anything built on that continent, you run away from that, or at least that side of that continent, you run away from. Because that sucker will get you. It'll get you. It may not get you right away, but something will happen. Here's another one, real quick. Go on the internet. I'm going to show you here in just a second. I'm going to show you a web page. But go on the internet and Google Mercedes aromatic problems. That's a good one. No, Infiniti and Lexus managed to build nice, comfortable cars without air springs on them. Why couldn't Mercedes? I mean, look, guys, if your plastic and rubber compounds are so shitty, which they're proven to be, we know that. We'll say it again. If they're so bad, why do you continue to build cars out of them? Haven't you learned a lesson yet? Haven't you learned a lesson that your plastic does not hold up? The timing chain guys don't hold up. The timing chains themselves don't hold up. You would have think that they would have gotten that, and they would have specified to their suppliers who build all the components for these cars. You would have thought by now they would have said, okay, you find us the same suppliers that build all the stuff for these totally reliable Lexus and Infiniti and Hondas and Toyotas. You find us the same suppliers for those items, and we'll build them out of those. And then you would think that maybe, guess what, our reliability will start coming up, and we will stop having all this nonsense bullshit problems. If you want to know what the best job to have in the car service industry is, own a shop that specializes in Mercedes or BMWs, or be a line tech at one of those dealerships. You'll make all kinds of money. Alright guys, let's go take a look at the webpage real quick.